In this video, we will be featuring a speech from Rohn about the importance of building great character. He believed that building great character is a key component in determining your ability to become a success in life. He believed we should not only chase success because of the monetary and material rewards, but we must also pursue success for what it makes of us. This speech taught me the importance of falling in love with the process rather than longing for a destination. It taught me how to truly make a huge impact on the world and live life in a way that I will leave a great legacy behind. Rohn was the master at building character, always working on himself in order to help others along the way. Without further ado, here he is, with one of the greatest speeches of all time.
Today, you still have a real chance to turn your dreams into reality, to make yourself into exactly what you want to be, no matter who you are or where you start from. Some people might disagree with me about that, but I know it's true. That's why we should be doing everything we can to make the most of the opportunities that have been given to us. Yes, we still live in the age of opportunity, but let's look for a moment at some of the important changes that have taken place in the world. For one thing, there are more people throughout the world who have access to the spectrum of technological advances. They have cars in their garages, computers, satellite dishes, all of it. And I say good for them, because when you've worked hard for it, and you've finally gotten it, having a lot of nice stuff is fun. But I also say take care, because the stuff that really matters can get buried under everything else. The right stuff can get smothered under all the plastic and shiny metal. The inner resources that will sustain you when the clock strikes midnight and the carriage turns into a pumpkin, those inner resources can start to get lost. And what you've got becomes a little less important than what you are. I'm talking about character now. Does it seem to you that a lot of people are succeeding these days without the benefit of a strongly developed character? It does seem that way to me sometimes, but I think some very positive signs are beginning to appear. I think we're starting to realize that we'd better remember what got us this far if we expect to go any farther. So I'm going to tell you where the word character comes from, and I'd hope it has as big an effect on you as it did on me. But first I want to just quickly mention the origins of another word that people often confuse with character, just to clarify the differences. That other word is charisma, and I think that it's often confused with character today. Charisma is derived from a Greek word meaning an ability to elicit favor in other people. It's a magnetic quality of personality that people respond to as if it were magic. Charisma is almost like a magic wand that confers power over others. But character has a very different origin. Character comes from a Greek word meaning chisel, or the mark left by a chisel. And of course, a chisel is a sharp steel tool used for making a sculpture out of a hard or difficult material like granite or marble. And a chisel is also used for stripping away waste material from an object, stripping away stuff that might get in the way in order to get down to the essential thing, the thing that really matters. So in its origins, the word character isn't related to a word like charisma, which we've described as a kind of magic wand. Character isn't a magic wand, and I hope you'll remember that. You've got to chisel your character out of the raw material of yourself, just like a sculptor has to create a statue. The raw material is always there. Everything that happens to you, good or bad, is an opportunity for building your character. You may have noticed it already. In both its definition and its derivation, character doesn't refer to other people. It doesn't refer to having power over other people or getting other people to follow you or gaining favor with other people. Character is something that you have and that you are. You could be marooned on a desert island and your character would still be important. In fact, it would likely be very important in that situation. But charisma wouldn't do you any good at all. Charisma requires the presence of others, while character is all about you. Character is the person you are after you've chiseled and have gotten past all the unnecessary material to what's underneath. A really charismatic person can make people believe there's pie in the sky, or that the sky is going to fall tomorrow, one just as easily as the other. By creating these expectations, charismatic individuals can indeed energize and inspire others, or terrify and demotivate them, until the overblown scenarios are proven false and the charisma runs out. But a person of character doesn't need to be anyone's Pied Piper, and isn't comfortable in that role. Instead, he or she looks within for the true source of inspiration and energy. A charismatic person can inspire devoted or even fanatical loyalty, but this can all too easily turn into an unconscious sense of dependency, and that can make matters difficult when the leader is no longer available. Like a charismatic coach, effective during the glory years, but when he leaves the organization, there is a sense of abandonment, and the team may never achieve anything like its prior success. Powerful personalities often resist delegating authority, but it's an attitude of character for a leader to refrain from making himself or herself the indispensable heart and soul of an organization. Charismatic people have to keep pulling rabbits out of the hat. The magic of their presence has got to keep expressing itself, or people might start wondering where it went. Worse yet, they might start getting bored. One of the biggest pitfalls for a charismatic leader comes straight from his or her ability to inspire love and devotion. And this is the last point I want to make. In order to bask in the warm glow of a leader's approval, people may become reluctant to voice disagreements. There are people who become isolated because subordinates are afraid of them. But the same isolation can occur as a result of misplaced affection. People of character are usually well loved by everyone around them, but they make it clear that their own first love is for the truth, even if it hurts. And I want to close this discussion with a comparison between two historical personalities. Alexander the Great was undoubtedly the most charismatic leader who ever lived. He lived only to the age of 33, but he personally led his armies into one victorious battle after another. It wasn't always easy, however. Alexander's willingness to put himself in danger, his gift for oratory, and his genius as a military tactician inspired fanatical loyalty from his troops. But even they grew weary after years of constant warfare. More than once, they threatened to mutiny and return to Greece. But until they reached the malaria-ridden jungles of India, Alexander was always able to rally them for one more battle. He believed that he was a god, and that his wars of conquest demonstrated his divine power to the rest of the world. When he died in the ancient city of Babylon, his body was transported across the desert to Egypt in a golden hearse, drawn by scores of horses. Yet no one worships Alexander today. No one is impressed by all the cities he named after himself, or by the city he named after his horse, or by the palace he built and filled with huge pieces. Of furniture so that people would think he was a giant. In fact, Alexander's influence began to evaporate soon after his death, and new conquerors soon took his place. 300 years after Alexander, Jesus Christ began to preach. Instead of an army, he had 12 men. Others tried to say he was a god, but he never said so himself. He didn't own a horse. He never founded a city. And when he died, there was no golden hearse. Yet the force of his character has endured and grown, while the most charismatic leader who ever lived is of little interest to anyone except historians. Because character is what's left after charisma is gone. The essential point is this: I don't think character is something that just happens by itself, any more than a chisel can create a work of art without the hand of an artist guiding it. In both instances, a conscious decision has been made. A conscious process of design is at work. Character is the result of hundreds and hundreds of choices you may make that gradually turn who you are at any given moment into who you want to be. If that decision-making process is not present, you'll still be somebody. You'll still be alive, but may have a personality rather than a character. And to me, that's something very different. Character isn't something you were born with and can't change like your fingerprints. It's something you weren't born with and that you must take responsibility for making. There used to be a joke about football teams that lost every game. The coach would say, "Well, we built a lot of character this year, didn't we?" As if character is something that you settle for when you haven't achieved what you really wanted. Or as if character is something that automatically develops in you as a result of adversity. I don't buy that. I don't think adversity by itself builds character. And I certainly don't think that success erodes it. You can build character by how you respond to what happens in your life, whether it's winning every game or losing every game, or getting rich or dealing with hard times. You build character out of certain qualities that you must create and diligently nurture within yourself. You've got to look for those things in your heart and in your gut. You've got to chisel away in order to find them, just like chiseling away rock in order to create the sculpture that has previously existed only in your imagination. But the really amazing thing about character is that if you're sincerely committed to making yourself into the person you want to be, you'll not only create those qualities, you'll strengthen them and recreate them in abundance, even as you're drawing on them every day of your life. Like the burning bush in the biblical book of Exodus, the bush that burned, but it was not consumed by the flames. Character sustains itself and nurtures itself, even as it's being put to work and tested and challenged.